Count money, man. Stack riches. Try and told him I'm a beast, bud.
What's up, gang? Welcome back to another episode of the GRINDcast. Get ready. It's a new day, and we're getting to it. We've been leading up to it. E plus R equals O. E plus, if you haven't heard it, take a guess right now. What do you think? E plus R equals O. What do you think it is? If you heard it, don't count. Don't tell the person to the left or to the right. E plus R equals O. Event plus your response equals the outcome. Life isn't what happens to you. It's about how you respond to it. So there could be two people with the exact same circumstances and two wildly different incomes and outcomes, for that matter. And so, I remember a long time ago, I used to use the analogy of I had a friend of mine that, their dad had some struggles, good person, but he was an alcoholic and rough. And, one of the kids, they turned out a little wild, a little rough, had some mistakes, big mistakes. We all make mistakes, but like some other next level mistakes. And they interviewed him. They said, "Hey, what happened, man? You're 50 years old now, like going back on it. What do you think happened?" He said, "Man, my dad was an alcoholic. This happened. And we get it." And then, so the other person comes out super successful, crushes it in life, handles everything the right way, super healthy, good relationships, all that. And they say, "Hey, man, what was it?" He said, "Man, my dad was an alcoholic. It was good. I took the good from it, but I knew I didn't want to go over the line with too much substance stuff and abuse. And it made me focus. It made me appreciate my relationships. And I watched what had happened and all this." And so same thing, same parents, same circumstances, two people, but different outcomes. All the time this happens in life is you get dealt a rough hand, but if you play it out and play it the right way, you could dictate that outcome. For example, we have a big victory. Somebody wins at something, has some success, wins a game, wins a Super Bowl, whatever. But we get a big win. One person says, "Man, I've arrived. Take this foot off this gas pedal real quick. I'm good. Let me just chill out here. All of you should just start throwing rose petals at my feet. Lose that humility, lose that hunger, use that drive." The next person wins, gets a big win, big promotion, big success, whatever it is, and then right back at it, right back the next day to work and wins back-to-back championships. Winning a Super Bowl is something that many teams never accomplish. Go ahead, let the Browns jokes come in on me. Go ahead. But so winning a Super Bowl, hey, respect. But the LA Rams won, I think, 2022 Super Bowl. But then the next season they went 5-12 in 2023. The Chiefs won it in 2023 and backed it up this year with another one and a focus on a three-peat. And so what is the attitude in the mindset? Now, a lot in sports, a lot can go into it. Some of it is attitude. Some of it could be salary caps and all this other stuff. So you got to take out of that analogy what you will. But so often, the reason why most champions, be it the World Series, the Super Bowl, don't repeat and even more or less likely three-peat is because people start getting comfortable and complacent. They lose that hunger. They stop doing the things that they did when they were on the come up. Somebody has a major adversity and adversity happens. We joke around. We tell people, "Hey, man, the biggest place you got to graduate from, we appreciate your degree if you got one. Sometimes it's no big deal if you don't have one. But, here's the place you got to get your degree from, the U. Not the University of Miami, Nothing wrong with the University of Miami, but what we're talking about is the University of Adversity, U of A. And so some people, they have a major adversity and they define themselves with it of, man, I can't because this happened to me, or I had this failure, I had this obstacle, I had this adversity, I had this setback. While another person says, in spite of what happened to me, or of what happened, or that whatever it is, we're going to make it anyway. We're going to take it to the next level anyway. We're going to take those cards and run with it anyway. And it's perspective and conscious decision to put the work in and to work with what you have to push forward, to control the things that are within my control, your control, in order to push forward. Circumstances don't make the person. They only reveal them to themselves. Right? They say adversity doesn't. Adversity just introduces us to ourselves. And I think that quote was, man, they give me one up here that I can't even pronounce. You know what I mean? So is it Epictetus? How'd I do, Josh?
Sounds right. Good guess.
Alyssa's the person we really need to ask then. Alyssa, do you have any idea? No? What you going with? Let's take a stab at it.
What'd you say?
Epictetus. Epictetus. I think they did this to me on purpose. Y'all, I mean, come on. From Youngstown, Josh, this is what you do to me. Who are you? Like, which person are you going to be? You could choose. The choice is made by your thoughts and your actions. That E plus R equals O. The choice is made by the R, by that response thing. That's going to determine that O. In your response to the event, oftentimes the biggest challenge is the event sometimes is people can't handle success. That's true, right? Which we talked about. And sometimes it's people can't handle lack thereof, the adversity. And your response to adversity is the real measure of who you are and what you're made of. And I would make the argument also of your response to success reveals a lot of who you are and what you're made of. And I think that's going to be that way for the rest of our life, is mastering the art and getting better each time with mastering how do I handle adversity? How do I handle success? How did I handle this adversity? How did I handle this level of success? And I think with the adversity, man, you need a lot, but you definitely need some grit. And with success, you need a lot, but you definitely need some humility, I think, at the foundation of it all. And so, yeah, it's about that grit. It's about that heart, but it's also about that stamina. So, we used to say, success is not a destination. We've said it's a journey, right? It's a marathon, not a sprint. But there's times where you got to get to sprinting. You got to pick up the pace a little bit, but really it's a marathon. And so it's less about, that's why it's not about that talent piece. It's about the stamina. Can you last? Can you keep going? Can you keep pushing forward? The examples that I would give people in the commission sales industry is like, man, 100 people start a marathon race, and then, man, we start running, now there's only 50. And then you keep running, there's only 20. You keep running, it's only 5. That's the marathon. That's the marathon race of stamina, not for a week, not for a month, not for a year, but like, how long can you keep going? And sometimes, that fight that you're in, that storm, that adversity, that obstacle, that season, whatever it is, sometimes it lasts a few minutes. Sometimes it lasts a few years. that response. And sometimes in those moments where, man, that adversity, that obstacle, that whatever takes longer than a few minutes and longer than a few moments and longer than a few months, that may be where you're learning patience. That may be where you're learning to give up control, that it's not within my control. I can control what is in my control, but the things that are not in my control, I got to give to whatever you believe, God, higher power, life, whatever. There's a lot of things that you learn in that long-term journey, that long run of like, man, I got to get through this process. I got to get through this thing, that stamina piece right there of like, man, I'm just going to keep running my race. I'm going to keep on running. And one thing that's for sure you can't do and win is I ain't never met a winner at the top that said, hey, man, I want to thank everybody. And how did you accomplish this? Well, I just kept quitting every time things got hard. It's usually the opposite. It's usually, man, things got hard and we found a way to not give up and keep on going. There was this old Navy SEAL video we used to always play all the time from the beginning of time, building a sales force here. And the guy said, man, he developed this motto of in his head, not dead, can't quit. That sometimes the things that he had to do and go through were so hard that he had to remind himself that like quitting is not an option. The only way you lose is if you quit and if you give up. And the only way you could stop is if you die. And so that's the only way you could lose. Either the only way you're not going to get it is either you die or you win, because it's not dead. Can't quit. Quitting is not an option. So if you're not dead, quitting is not an option. We'll see you at the finish line. So it's how you operate between failure and success, that back and forth dance we talked about for the rest of our life. That's where it's at. You know, there was a quote, Avery Johnson, who was a great hooper, basketball player, not the biggest basketball player, great coach now. He said, how you operate between failure and success, that's where the secret sauce is made. And I would argue what I was talking about before, how you operate between failure and success, like I failed or this is a struggle, between that happening and getting the success, that's where the secret sauce is made. That's how you get made, is in the trenches. But then also, in between failure and success is still, in between there is like once you have success, it's that you got to be able to handle the success piece too. Right? So I just want to encourage you. We're all human. I'm human. Nobody's perfect. You all go through things. We all have different periods of our life. And don't be so discouraged, you know, sometimes when you're in a winter season and somebody else is in a summer season. You're like, man, I'm getting beat to death over here by life. And you just jogging in the sun, in the ocean, walking the dog. Life looks so good. Don't worry about that, because life goes around and around. And first of all, we don't wish winter on anybody. But in the word, it says that the rain will rain on the just and the unjust. It's going to rain on all of us. And so there'll be a period of time where somebody else is in the rain and you're in the sun. You know, like, man, I got a lot of my family's in Florida, and they're in Florida, and man, nothing makes me question myself more than when I'm in the snow and it's nonstop. And I'm talking to my family in Florida. I'm looking at people in Florida and it's sunny. People are in jogging, no shirt on, swimming. I'm like, man, what are you doing? But then sometimes they'll call me, and man, our summer here in Pittsburgh was off the hook. I think was great. Just beautiful. So many days of, we couldn't even believe it. That orange ball in the sky. So many of us don't even know what they call that, the sun. We seen that a bunch of days. And I know my friends, some of my friends' family, they had challenging times in Florida during the summertime, a lot of rain. And then recently, Unfortunately, I had family members, friends affected by the hurricanes in Florida that impacted them negatively, some catastrophic, just horrible. And I'm like, man, this Pittsburgh ain't looking too bad now. And so it just all depends on the season and in the moment. So don't be discouraged if you're in a winter season. Just what can you control? Put the heat on, put some hats and gloves on. Be grateful we're alive and control that R so we can control that O. The event we can't always control. The E plus the R, our response equals our outcome. And we appreciate you, as always, joining us today on the GRINDcast. And so with that, the event is we're ending today's session at in the GRINDcast studios. The response is, would you help us out? The event is, could you share this? It's what we're asking to happen. Can you share this with some people if you think it could benefit them at all? Take the time out. I know we're busy and we're trying, maybe take 30 seconds, 60 seconds, send it to somebody that you think we can help, that we can impact, that we can inspire, and control somebody else's maybe a positive manner of their outcome. Okay. We really appreciate you and the time that you invested today into listening to us on the GRINDcast. And we're looking forward to hearing from you or seeing you and knowing that we're being heard next week. If you could give us, we've been responding to some people, they have questions or they have things that they want us to cover. Feel free to give us a topic of something that you would like for us to cover. And we'll see you next time on the GRINDcast. Thanks for joining us on another episode of GRINDcast. Get ready. It's a new day.